Welcome to the Paddle and Portage Podcast. I'm just walking up the driveway across from mine. Happens to be the residence of Joe Fredericks. It's been a long stretch of time, moving all over the state, compiling stories for you, our listeners, and I decided I need to get up here with Joe, and we're overdue for Tales from the Road. And here he is, giant brush pile, Joe Fredericks. Joe,
hey.
You got an early start this morning.
Out working on these brush piles.
It appears that you are continuing your endeavor to eradicate balsam fir from your acreage of land here on the North Shore.
Yeah, I mean, not quite eradicate, but we've got spruce budworm, which is a larval turned moth thing that eats the tips of balsam and spruce, and it's rampant in Cook County now. It was in Lake County over across the entire boundary waters, and including here closer to Lake Superior. So yeah, thinning it out and making these brush piles, and gonna burn them in December probably.
Well, you know, that's all fine and good. I don't want to offend you and say I did not come up here to talk about spruce budworm and your timber.
Come on, I could go on for hours about it.
I know you could, but you know, I was thinking we're due for a Tales from the Road.
Ah, the road.
You know,
we've been on it quite a bit lately.
Yeah, and you know, we've been putting out stuff from some of our adventures on our different platforms. Not some of it not on the podcast, so we gotta update people who need to know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we already this month, I mean, October is like over now basically and into November, but in October we were down at what's actually turned into, quite frankly, my favorite event that we go to, the Winter Camping Symposium down by Moose Lakes on the shores of Sturgeon Lake, YMCA Camp Miller. And the folks who put it on are, you know, just the creme de la creme of outdoor enthusiasts, boundary waters and beyond, and certainly for winter camping. So we were back at that, had a booth there this year for P&P, and did some interviews that are on the YouTube, the video podcast, as you're referencing. Maybe the listeners, you're the most common thread, haven't heard it. But I talked to this woman named Melanie. I had a great conversation about her getting into the wilderness and feeling comfortable, looking how she looks and how she wants to look when she gets in there. In fact, let's just hear a clip of my conversation. It's like, come to the wilderness and you don't have to wear makeup. And that probably reaches a certain demographic of people.
Absolutely.
But it also might actually turn off or away people who sort of are like, oh shoot, if I only kind of feel at my best and sort of present my best to the world when I look a certain way, and maybe that includes makeup for the purposes of this conversation, that those people might not want to go.
Right.
And that you go just as yourself.
I do, yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
That's like what it should be, right? Like, we should go how we feel best to the world.
Yeah.
And in our own skin and so forth.
Yeah. I have a time I remember, and I won't say what trip or what group or who I was with. Great friends. But I was getting ready in the morning, and I had come out of my tent, and I used the they have these non-heat curl silk rods that you can put in your hair. My hair was about twice as long as it is now. And so I'd roll up my hair in the night, put my bonnet on underneath it, and I could come out in the morning and pull out the rod and have these like big, beautiful curls. And I think I was doing my makeup or something. And one of the guys was like, yeah, I learned long ago not to worry about what people think. And I was like, that's nice. And I didn't need to like get into a conversation about it. But in my mind, I was thinking, well, I think this looks really nice and it's going to look really cute in my fur hat. And it's more for me. It's not because I'm worried about like what other people think about it. It's because I would like to do that. And if I can find a way to be functional and do that, I'm going to do it.
So that's Melanie, and you can view that it's a video podcast on our YouTube channel, which I definitely would encourage you to subscribe to for free. Paddle and Portage Podcast on YouTube.
At the Winter Camping Symposium, you know, it's this, in case you aren't familiar, it's an event that's primarily skill sharing some vendors. It's not vendor focused, it's really community focused. The whole idea is to gather with other people who love to winter camp, and also with aspiring winter campers to share knowledge and know-how and friendship. And on Friday night, after we had kind of completed the festivities of the evening, Ryan Fox sat down in our tent, and
Late night.
It was probably 1 a.m, and asked how it was going for us. And what I continue to think about and remember is that showing up there, as opposed to last year not knowing what to expect, showing up this year knowing exactly what to expect, which is all greatness, and just slipping right into the groove of reconnecting with friends from the symposium and making new friends. It was like just hit the ground running, and couldn't recommend this more. Especially this year, the keynote on Friday night was Kylan Maroney. Her and her husband run Lure of the North up out of Ontario, and had a passionate, very impassioned keynote about just winter expeditions and the joy of being with people. So I sat down with Kai in our hot tent on Saturday and dove much deeper into Kai's story. Here's a little segment from that.
My grandfather, on my mom's side, I loved him so much. His vibe was so much love. When I look at them, like, I just admired them. And I never thought that that could be a way of life for me. I was always just so focused on excellence, and I was going to be a sports therapist and, travel around with sports teams. And like, that was just the life I was envisioning. It wasn't until like after he died that I was like, he was my mentor in life, and like somebody that I wanted to be like. And so that part of my life I've just really embraced, and like really trying to strive towards that. And like, they built their own house. He was blind in one eye, half blind in the other, and colorblind. I would just go up into his shop, sit in this crate full of wood chips, and just watch him. And you don't even really realize how impactful it is until you're in your adulthood and you start to draw on those memories. My mom used to paint all the time, and she never felt like she could express herself fully. Like, she always just was like, I suck, I'm terrible, I'm whatever. She never like dove into that side of her, and I always like felt empathy for her, that she didn't find that power to like truly sink in to who she wanted to be. And that was something that was really important to me, was like, I'm going to follow my heart with writing and pottery and photography. I can just really see the world through a different lens that like is more meaningful to me.
Recently followed up with Kai from that conversation just to make sure that, it was kind of a deep dive, a lot of personal stuff, and just to kind of make sure, and we both sort of agreed that having those kind of conversations, though, can feel a little raw and personal, especially to share with the public, is worthwhile to keep moving all of us towards the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, keeping it real.
Exactly. So, that was just one of our road trips in the last several weeks.
Well, I also took a trip in a canoe. I went on the road to get there, and
the old water highway.
The old water highway was, as Brook Trout season's winding down here, it ends October 31st, and these lakes around the boundary water, stream trout, but primarily up here, splake and brookies. And made one last push to get in there for some pretty hard to get to brook trout lakes. And
as folks know, it's sort of the fall tradition.
Yeah, it's a great thing for us. We've already smoked some fish, as we heard in the last podcast episode. Those were splake, but went for these brookies, and as we were in there fishing, buddy Michael and I, the plane flies overhead. Like
What plane?
So the Forest Service has a beaver plane that we've been up in for the podcast before. They use it for firefighting and looking at where the fire is burning from above and so forth. They also use it just to contract with the DNR to do fish surveys, as we heard about in that episode, and to stock fish. So that's what they were using the plane for that day, is to stock fish, and it comes flying overhead on the lake that we happen to be in. And evidently,
Let's back up, because you see this, and you are very excited. Some would maybe even say metaphorically prepared with an umbrella to be rained down upon little brook trout yearlings.
Right, and there's no reason, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here or anything, but like it was known that we were going to be in there, and we knew the plane was coming, quite frankly, and it was never communicated like, when we come, make sure you're off the lake. And so anyway...
maybe a slight slip of mind in the excitement of it all.
Yeah, exactly. So the plane flies overhead. They're going to stock it. We're out fishing, not, pretty close to shore at the end of the lake, and because we were in our canoe fishing on this remote lake, they weren't able to stock it that day. But I've heard now from the DNR that they've come back and stocked that lake. They just couldn't do it then. So if you are on a lake fishing, evidently, and the beaver's flying over, I mean, it's a good idea to get off the lake just in general, because they're doing something of importance, be it search and rescue or whatever it might be. So a learning experience for all, I would describe that as.
This has been a PSA from Paddle and Portage about canoe etiquette when trout stocking is occurring in the wilderness. Paddle and Portage, Tales from the Road, PSA. What else?
Well, most recently, in fact, we're just getting back from this one. We're going to have our footage coming out, video, audio, all kinds of things happening around this. The Voyager's Wolf Project, which happens on the very, very far side of the Boundary Waters, like Crane Lake, Lac LaCroix, past that about 10 miles.
I mean, the area of the Voyager's Wolf Project is a massive wolf study that encompasses several packs, distinct packs, monitoring their locations, their reproduction, their pack size, and this has gone on for many years now. It's a very notable, world-renowned study of wolves right here in the state of Minnesota.
That's right, and they just released their 2025 survey results, for lack of a better term, about how the wolf population's doing in Minnesota. The Star Tribune had a piece about that sort of highlighted, the wolf numbers are down! Dun, dun, dun. Hey!
Panic, people!
So, of which, this wolf researcher we were with had kind of a good time with that. But we went out in the field with the lead of this project. His name's Tom Gable. A hell of a nice guy. We'd met Tom over Zoom. In fact, we were at Canoecopia when we first talked to him over Google Meets and kind of lined this up. So it was a lot of logistics to get to this date, and we've got some amazing footage. We're not going to give away too much about our experience, but
let's just get a little teaser from Tom, huh? How about that? Yeah, let's do it.
Here on Superior National Forest with wolf researcher from the Voyager Wolf Project, Tom. And what's happening here today?
So we're going to go out and track a wolf that we've been studying here off of a remote lake in our area that we call the Greater Voyagers Ecosystem, and try to determine what the wolf was doing there, then likely killed something, and we're going to see what we find.
All right, so the Boundary Waters about 10 miles over that way, Voyager National Park and the border lakes up there. How far are we from that?
We're probably about 10 miles probably from Voyagers, maybe a little less than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're about equidistant from those two paddling destinations. You just took a North Star canoe off, a Northwind 18. What's up with the canoe here today?
Well, we're going to we think we're going to have to go to a spot at the end of this lake where this wolf went out on this bog mat where we think the kill might be, and that requires us using a canoe because we won't be able to wade out there through the bog. So the canoe is pretty critical today.
Okay, and how do you know, or how do you assume that this wolf has killed something out there? Like what brought us to this place here?
So this wolf has a GPS collar that takes locations every 20 minutes, and based on the pattern of the locations, that's how we think, or why we think there's a kill here, based on how it was moving and returning kind of the same spot over and over, which is often what happens when wolves make a kill. They keep coming back to the same spot. So we see some of this behavior in that bog there, and then some areas on the land nearby. So somewhere in there we think there's a kill, and we're going to search that bog first because we think that's most likely.
Okay, interesting. How long have you been studying wolves in Minnesota town?
So this is our 11th year on our project, and I've been here for that whole period of time. So,
all right. Well, we've got some cloud cover. It's late fall coming up on November, and that's Paddle and Portage into the woods. So that's Tom Gable. We were just heading into a wolf kill site, as Tom explained. And you'll have to stay tuned to the podcast to see how that went. But I'm still kind of clearing out my nostrils. We'll just leave it at that.
You know, we love keeping up to date on the travels. One of the things I was thinking about on my walk up your driveway, Freddie, that I forgot to mention is that Winter Camping Symposium, we got to see so many folks that... we've either met at Canoecopia or just through the podcast, and it's just really good to see all y'all. In the way that we've similarly talked about Canoecopia, Winter Camping Symposium is the place to get to have that face-to-face time with so many of you. And thanks to everybody who showed up and sought us out and made sure we had some good chats and silly times, especially on the dance floor.
That's right. Yeah, such a great event. And I got to say, you got some new apparel. You're looking like a polished version of the great Josh Dix here.
Yes. Well, I guess one more huge thank you to Ryan Fox, who we know through the symposium, who is shared the abundance. I'm wearing a all wool.
Wow, that thing's sharp.
Sort of pull over hooded zip up thing. I don't know if it's appropriate to call this a anorak or just a pull over, but
that thing's freaking awesome.
On this morning, waking up in the North Woods where it was in the 20s, it was the perfect thing to pull over and run up here and say good morning.
Yeah.
So thanks, Ryan.
And knowing that my temperature runs a bit warmer than yours, I got a vest of some kind from Ryan sent that's similar to yours. Love those guys.
Yeah.
Ryan Fox.
Thanks to
Chad.
Well, Freddie.
CLB.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, I think for whatever reason, Freddie's climbing on top of this pile of balsam brush. I don't want to stick around and see what could happen. So, oh, my gosh. Okay. All right. I'm out of here.